relative to GPS tampering, and welcome up a panel, Sarah Malley, Tedra Newton, and Tara Ruteau. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Eldridge, Chair Day, members of the committee. My name's Sarah, and I'm here today in favor of Bill S1098. I am a domestic violence survivor, also an advocate. The GPS was meant to provide structure, control, and accountability of offenders, providing an extra layer of supervision with the goal of enhancing public safety in the community. It was established in 2001, fast forward 20 plus years, and it still hasn't come close to providing those things for survivors in the Commonwealth. My abuser has a lengthy, violent criminal history. One of those crimes includes escaping prison transport, shackled and handcuffed, en route to a max prison for the charge of kidnapping. He went away for 4+ years, and if someone who has no fear of consequences can escape armed guards, I asked myself, why should this person be eligible for such a flight risk? Someone with 130 charges, 100 of them being violent, a lot of them being against myself. GPS is not keeping my children, the public, or myself safe. If my abuser knows removing it is not a chargeable offense, it's a violation of the rules and the contract he signed when being released from prison to begin with. By leaving, so this time when being released from prison, he violated superior probation by leaving Massachusetts, letting his bracelet die twice, failure to complete the batterer's intervention course, failed to drug test. His probation officers, one of them, said the defendant does not abide by any conditions and keeps being reprobated. Probation officers kept requesting he be remanded, and for some reason he wasn't. Was anyone considering the safety of myself or my kids with 40+ violations of a restraining order that I've also gone with the prosecution for this, which put my life at risk either way. So I'm here today because either way, this is a life sentence for me. I might as well talk about what's important for us, because I know I didn't do anything to deserve the type of abuse and stalking that comes at the hands of trying to break up with someone who it's an unsuccessful breakup. The message received to my kids were the system prioritizes my freedom over your safety. I am not unique. This isn't just my story. Someone that learns from past and changes is accountable. Someone that cuts off the GPS repeatedly with no judicial accountability, no oversight, no consequences is empowered. Making the felony 2 years is a step towards that purpose. For 22 years, this has not gotten better. This is not a relationship problem. This isn't a political problem. This is everybody's problem. We are going to continue to be openly hunted by these men. Not every survivor grew up with family violence. I was raised by a single dad who raised me with morals and integrity. He raised me to be brave, not silent. Survivors do not come forward because we are hiding, afraid, and we don't want conflict. So why you may just see me right this second, I stand for many. Safety is a basic human right that unfortunately, if you are the victim of a crime, you are no longer afforded. Please help us to live 2 years for someone's choice to remove a GPS. They're not doing so because they want to go soak in a bath. They're doing so because they have ill intentions and they don't follow the law. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair Day, Chair Eldridge, and the committee. My name is Tedra, and I'm here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1098, an act relative to GPS tampering. I myself am a survivor of domestic violence, but what pushed me to come speak today in a setting like this for the first time was watching my best friend endure years of repeated physical, mental, emotional abuse at the hands of someone that she once loved, trusted, and shared a child with. Her abuser had an absolutely appalling and extremely violent criminal record. I attempted to help her organize the numerous court dockets, police records, and restraining order violations just involving herself as the victim. but it was overwhelming and almost impossible as it spanned across at least 3 different counties. And that was just what was recorded in an approximate 2 to 3 year time period. Her abuser had charges as serious as murder, kidnapping, strangulation, and suffocation, assaulting his own lawyer and court officials, multiple assault charges, multiple abuse prevention order violations, and was clearly a danger to her as well as the general public and should not have been a candidate for the GPS bracelet. He was constantly granted this privilege time and time again. And time again, he reoffended once back out in the community, either tampering with or removing his GPS bracelet or just keeping it on while he knowingly violated the restraining order my friend had in place by constantly stalking and harassing her at her residence. I lived with her for a period of time and watched the abuse escalate into threats of violence that we both knew were not empty. I watched her ask for help from every source available, only to hit roadblocks at every turn. We realized that the full burden of ensuring our own safety, as well as her child's safety, fell completely into our hands. We lived in constant fear, with paranoia growing with every passing day, not even knowing if he was still in custody or released back into the community yet again. Even though I have a child of my own, I put my own life at risk by living with my friend, knowing that it was the only thing increasing the chances of her child and herself surviving an interaction with her abuser. We knew it was a matter of when, not if, he would appear. And he did, and it was violent. We live with the results of that, though. The hypervigilance doesn't leave. The thoughts and self-reminders that you can never let your guard down, not even for a second, are as incessant as our abuser's actions and harassment. Passing this bill would enforce harsher punishments for those who willingly choose to tamper with and destruct property of the Commonwealth would be so helpful in so many ways. Making it a mandatory minimum sentence of 2 years and a felony charge would give victims time to gain normalcy in their lives back, to relocate, time to gain back financial independence, time to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So having this adequate time and the much needed peace of mind that our abusers are being held accountable for their actions would allow victims to better work with the agencies and people that we want to place our faith in and take advantage of resources provided to us. Finally, tampering with a GPS bracelet is a serious crime and can ultimately bring serious consequences to victims that just want to feel safe and put communities at risk, which is why I'm asking you to pass this legislation through committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tedra.
Good afternoon, Chair Day, Chair Eldridge, and the committee. My name is Tara. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I am here today to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1098, an act relative to GPS tampering. My abuser was put on the GPS bracelet after abusing 3 women in the same year. He has over 100 violent charges on his record. While he was on his GPS bracelet, he tampered with it, breaking it, and was not trackable for 24 hours. The GPS tracking company called his cell phone, ordered me to stay with him until he was able to go to the police department the next day to have it replaced. They called my cell phone once through the night and then the next day to make sure I was still with him. I could not tell them I was being abused the whole time. He was not charged with tampering or destroying the property. It was just simply replaced. He was not charged with violation of probation. Absolutely nothing happened to him. The only one that paid the price for the tampering of the GPS bracelet was me, being ordered to stay with him and being abused the whole time. I can tell you when I was away from him and he had the GPS bracelet on, that for me, I'm sure as for other victims, the GPS bracelet provides a peace of mind and relief from harassment and abuse. It allows us to live somewhat a normal life. Defendants who are ordered to wear a GPS bracelet should take the time to rebuild their lives, stay away from victims, look for work, rebuild relationships with other family members and friends, return to school, and try to function normally in society. If they cannot and they make a choice, they decide to make that choice to cut off and remove or damage the GPS bracelet, and they decide to commit a crime or go after the victim they're ordered to stay away from, or they have seeked out another victim, there should be serious consequences associated with GPS tampering and the choices they have made. We need defendants to understand and know there are consequences for their actions, that damaging property that belongs to the Commonwealth, just like any other destruction of property, is a crime. As victims and survivors, we just want to be safe. We want to be protected by the Commonwealth. We want to live a normal life, or somewhat normal. Many of us have children and we want them to feel safe. I will never forget my daughter's face when I walked in from one of his many violent attacks. She was 11 years old and she was horrified. She didn't recognize me. She was shaking in fear and didn't know what to do. Her mother, that was supposed to keep her safe, couldn't even keep herself safe. We want to live without fear, assaults, ambush, vandalism, beyond our controlling abusers. We do not want to be killed. It is something people take for granted, but victims cannot. During his trial, he took a plea deal. He was sentenced to 8 years, and he outbursted when he heard that if he comes back for us and he reoffends, he'll get 15 years. My parole hearing is next month, July. He could possibly get out, and I know he's coming. I pray and hope he has a GPS bracelet as part of his release conditions, but what I pray for even more is if he makes a choice to tamper with it, it will be a felony. Who knows, this may be my last recorded testimony. That is my reality. I take his threats and promises seriously. He always makes good on his promises. I hope you do too. For giving me the time to speak. I am doing my best to keep me and my family safe. I truly hope and pray the Commonwealth will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you all for your testimony, for sharing your stories with us. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you all very much.
Thank you.